Great. Okay, so now it's recording. So we're looking at a dashboard, and the only tab that you really need in the dashboard is the transactions tab. If you do search for transactions, and I'm just going to throttle it down and look for transactions in the last couple of days. But you can use any other fields here, including amounts, last four of account, payment method used, name or email address for your member. And there's also transaction types, including if there's ever a chargeback, or you want to look at only refunds, deposits, or the settlements to you. So there's those types of transactions if you want to look at that history. Okay, so this view button next to the charge, notice that this one's canceled, so that's not a transaction that that went out through the networks. That's the equivalent of a void. But you see this refund button. If you click view next to any transaction and you click refund, you'll have the option of doing a full refund or a partial refund. Now, if it is the same day, this will say void instead. You'll be able to void the transaction same day, approximately before 5:30 Eastern. It's a little later than that, but that's a good placeholder to keep in mind. That means it'll never turn up on your member's bank statement or card statement. This is the only place where you can do voids or refunds related to us. You have to come into the PlacePay dashboard to do that. Any questions on that? Okay, moving along. Reports. So,
hello?
Yes.
Yeah, I had a question. This is Elizabeth from Marlboro.
Yeah,
I just did it on the chat.
Elizabeth, I see your question. Let's
okay.
Talk offline because that's personal to you.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, thank you. Reports. So transaction report is granular. So that means it's going to have every bit of data about every bit of transaction that you do. And I have a report up on my screen to show you. This is a sample data. I blacked out amounts and who the operator is on purpose. If you see way over here on the right-hand side, this is where your settlement, aka batch information, is. And as you can see, some transactions have the same batch ID, meaning that it went out in the same day to the same account. So that's the batch amount. This is the individual transaction amount. You can see here that these transactions don't have yet batch information, which means they did not go out. But if you need granular data about your transactions, is where you go. The description is also very helpful. Everyone was just issued a virtual terminal checkout. So the label of checkout will appear in this column if it is on that particular, opposed to logged into operate. So operate plus payment means it's a one-time payment, like the member went in and clicked pay themselves. And if it says operate plus recurring payment, that's auto pay. So that means that your center ran a batch. And it could be a batch of one, it could be a batch of hundreds or thousands. It just kind of depends on the scale of your organization and what's going on that day. Going back into reports, the settlement report is just what it sounds like. This is only the batch information. So accountants kind of love this one. For accountants and bookkeepers kind of love this one when they're doing bank reconciliation, because this is only transactions in and out of your bank account, your business's bank account. So if you get a settlement for $10 for one payment for some erroneous amount of $10, and it's just the one transaction, that's fine. But if you ran auto pay and you had hundreds of members in that auto pay batch, they will all come through in one transaction to your bank account. It could be tens of thousands or 100,000 plus. It just depends on what's going on with your business. But you're only going to see the individual information, the individual transactions in and out of your bank account, not the members that make it up. The auto pay enrollment report is, and I've got a sample up that I'm about to show. But this is the change log in auto pay. We'll get to best practices in a moment, but about driving enrollment. But the thinking behind auto pay is that it is required, both from the card brand networks and the ACH networks, that account holders have a way to opt in and opt out of giving control over their payment method to a business. So this is how we do it. We do engage best practices of compliance. So someone can opt in, and then you can run any amount anytime against their account. They also have the right to revoke access to that account in the future. So this is just a complete log. If you put dates here, that'll throttle down the activity. So let's say you're several years in with us, you can go back and look at historic, but if you don't want to look at members that have left you, then you can use a more recent date. For anyone who's got multiple locations, you also can throttle any of these reports by a single location or take all. Just throwing that out there. We've got a question. So question is, if you do a void or refund transaction from PlacePay, do I need to manually change the status of the transaction in Census? You should not. I recommend double checking that it synced into your specific account, particularly the first couple times. If you don't see it, let us know, because we will dive in to make sure that posts back. But every refund and void should post back to a Census. But it's good habit to just go and check that that has happened and that the invoice is now marked unpaid, so your member can either pay again or you can delete it, because there's usually a next step on the side of your business. The checkout, which we're going to get to right now. Oh, sorry. Does anyone have any questions before I move on to the checkout, the virtual terminal? Either in the chat or by audio? Good question, Marky. Let me address that. That's probably...
I don't know how that happened. That wasn't me. I didn't ask that question. That's very unique. Who's posing as me?
You're asking a lot of questions for a guy who says he's not typing.
Yep.
All right, let me move on to the checkout. I'll address both of these. So this is an auto pay enrollment log. It just shows when enrollment, the timestamp when enrollment was given, and also the last transaction, if there is one that does apply. And then in a moment, I'll come back to sort of a discussion of best practices about driving an auto pay enrollment for your business. This is the virtual terminal, aka checkout. You can use it. It's great for non-members. We just released them to everyone in the last couple of days. The important thing to note, a very important thing to note, is that this is for your customers' information. Do not put your staff's information in here. Do not put your own information in here. This is to generate the receipt, so I will just use myself as a guinea pig for a moment. But it doesn't hurt just to familiarize yourself with it, to go in and make one payment and then jump into your dashboard and void it right afterwards. So you see, this is where you'll populate the card information, and then on the last screen, you'll do the amounts. This is obviously not a card. I'm just typing stuff in to get to the next screen before the authorization happens. So you guys can see that last screen. bear with me a moment. Okay, so this is the last screen. You populate an amount, you hit continue, card will process. You'll get a result. This one will obviously decline because that's garbage information I just threw in there. So you get a big declined on the screen. And then also the receipt will be generated. A question about this from Not Rocky is, should we use the virtual terminal for visiting members from other locations? I feel like that's a business decision for Venture X. I will say you definitely can if you'd like to. These virtual terminals are intended for the cardholder to check themselves out. You can grab this link. Everyone's got a unique link. It has your processing account embedded in it. You can send it to someone via email and ask them to make a payment. You can have it running on an iPad at your front desk. It's very easy with an iPad in particular. I believe you all have them to save a bookmark, like save this web page as an icon on the home screen, in which case it's super simple to launch it if you ever need it. Just a little reminder about PCI compliance. If the business, meaning the franchisee, the staff, anyone who works for VentureX, if you all handle payment methods and payment card information, you have brought additional PCI scope on yourself, including additional liability and auditing and compliance requirements. So this product is really intended to be only handled by the cardholder to keep that PCI scope low, as it is with the Operate member portal. So same kind of functionality. Any questions about the virtual terminal? We've got one quick question about QuickBooks. We do not connect directly to QuickBooks. Operate does. I do realize that these payments will not be populated into Operate because there's no invoice for them to go against. So those will have to be sort of manually captured by the business. Another question from Laura. To confirm, we email the link, but nothing unique associated with that link other than it is one location. Yes, you would need to tell them the amount to pay. This is just an open field. It's not an invoicing system. So if you're giving someone the link to pay remotely, meaning they're not in the same location you are, then yeah, you need to communicate what the amount due is. All of these transactions are, to answer non-Rocky's question, all of these transactions are in your PlacePay dashboard under checkout data. So you can see it labeled as where the payment occurred from. So for VentureX locations, you're going to have three options. It's going to be checkout, Operate one-time payment, and Operate reoccurring payment. The transactions are labeled in the data. Okay, last topic. Any other questions about this before I move over to the last topic, which is just sort of auto pay enrollment? So the
really quick. So how do we make it like what it said in there? How do you make it for our location? The link.
Everyone's link is different. So people were.
Sorry, I must have missed that.
Yeah, so the links are unique to the center. So every center has its own link. But the link is not, the link, you can't do any, this is a super lightweight checkout process. It is not an invoicing system, so it will not have labels such as conference room, and it will not have amounts locked in. So it's not like you're sending someone a $50 invoice labeled conference room and then they can only pay conference room for $50. This is simply take a payment. And what you need to do after that depends on the use case that you used it for. Auto pay. So with auto pay, sorry, Amanda, I don't understand your question. Well, Amanda types a little bit more. With autopay, I would presume that most members are not aware of the autopay option until you tell them about it. And the reason is that to my knowledge, when they log in to Operate for the first time, there's no, unless you put a community message up there, there's no, in the welcome section, there's nothing pointing them towards the autopay enrollment, which means a little bit of education needs to be done for your members if you'd like them to enroll in autopay. It certainly does make it easier on your business because if you have 100% enrollment, you click a couple buttons at the turn of the month and you're paid in full. So showing your members where autopay enrollment happens and asking them to do that is definitely the best way to make that happen. A couple contacts during email, you should get a pretty good response as it's super simple to do. It's just a few clicks. Lost my train of thought because I'm reading the chat. I apologize. Once folks are enrolled, you can see the enrollment on two different places. We have the autopay logs available to you in PlacePay. Census in Operate, they have two reports. Rocky has sent out some really good information about how to access and where those two reports are. They are people who are enrolled in autopay and people not on autopay. So if you were going to try and narrow down the number of members who are not on autopay, then grab that not an autopay report message to those folks. All right.
Jack, to that note, I just want to throw something out to everybody. Discovered yesterday somebody thought that they didn't have payment settings available because a member could not see payment settings in their member login. So just remember, everyone, you have to have an admin level portal access to view invoices and make payments and enter payment details. Any contact that has a basic level access or any member that has a basic portal level access only can book conference rooms in the portal. So you just have to be conscious of what level of access you've provided to each of the members. I created a list view on the contact page that provides you visibility to what portal access level they are. So you can pull up that list view, and down the right side of the screen, it's going to show you what portal level access they have. So it makes it easy to audit your members. Thanks,
Thank you.
Jack.
Thanks, Rocky. Even I just learned something. So there's a couple questions about use cases for the checkout module. It's for whatever you guys need it for. It's a kind of a business decision on your end. There's certain categories of non-members that people don't want to put into Operate, which means that you won't be able to generate an invoice in Operate because they don't have they're not listed as a member or have a login. So in any scenarios where someone does not have credentials in Operate, which means that you can't generate invoice for them in Operate, you are welcome to use the the checkout instead from us. And yes, it's kind of perfect for one-time charges. Someone mentioned conference rooms and event center rentals. Rocky, someone would like you to clarify that level access that you were diving into. You're on mute.
Admin level access gives the ability for, so think of it this way, our account is our company. The account is the business entity that is in our space. Each account has contacts of the accounts who are the actual members, the individuals. Those contacts of the account can have 3 levels of access: admin, min, or basic. The admin access gives the user the ability to manage users and pay invoices and enter billing details and view invoices. Mid-level, and book conference rooms. Mid-level gives the ability to manage the users of their account. It also gives the ability to book conference rooms, and basic only provides the ability to book conference rooms. So you need the actual individual of the account that's responsible for paying the bills and viewing invoices to have admin access.
Thanks, Rocky. So these one-time charges through our virtual terminal checkout, they are not associated with Operate at all. The point of giving this is specifically for cases where you do not want something in Operate, whether it's because you don't want to put the member in there or you don't want the invoices in there. Whatever the need is, this is for non-Operate. If the invoice is in Operate, then it can be paid through the Operate portal. Any other questions? We're hitting the bottom of the half hour. Okay. Last call on questions.
I'm just chatting.
Oh, okay.
I was starting to put one in the chat, but I was just thinking in terms of this, the one-time, whatever you're calling it, virtual terminal.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like it makes more sense if you need to have everything in Operate and you need to be able to invoice a walk-in, meaning somebody that just uses the conference room on a couple of time basis, maybe once, maybe never again. You can still put them into Operate and create that member portal so that they can pay through the regular method. But if you don't do it that way and you just do the virtual terminal, then like you're saying, it's not going to go back to Operate. Is that correct?
Correct.
Is that our only, those are our 2 recourses?
Correct.
And what you would do, just to clarify and make sure everybody understands, is you would still enter your invoice, your transactions in Operate. When you do the one-time payment through the virtual terminal, you're collecting that payment. Then you go back manually into Operate. You go into Operate and you manually mark that invoice paid.
So then are you suggesting, Rocky, that we would use the virtual terminal for those versus giving the member portal access? Because I know that's been a kind of a non-answered question that I've had for a couple of weeks now as it relates to people that are just using it, you know, here and there, and we don't want them to necessarily have full member portal access, but this is the workaround.
Yes, this would be exactly in that scenario. So if you're not going to provide them portal access, and it's just a one-off, maybe they only come in once every 3 months or what have you, and they're booking the conference room over the phone, you would collect a payment like this. Now, if they book the conference room through the website with the new website integrations that are being launched in May, they'll be able to book conference rooms directly off of VentureX.com, and with that, it will automatically prompt their payment in the booking process. But if they're calling on the phone or you're scheduling, if they're doing anything outside of the website for booking a conference room, this is going to be your one-off form of collecting that payment. Now, maybe they come in on that first time, you booked it over the phone because they called in. They come in on that first visit, they use the conference room. When they're coming in to use the conference room, you process the one-time payment through the virtual terminal. But then you have a conversation with them and you find out that they're going to want to use conference rooms on a regular basis. So then you explain the member portal to them. You give them a client type of non-member, and we are automatically setting non-member client types to have a limited portal access. So anyone that you... we're just creating a workflow for it right now that's going to automatically toggle non-portal access. When you select somebody as a non-member client, you actually can control that yourself as well in the portal info record of the contact. Okay. So all you do simply is uncheck. I'll tell you what it is here. I'll open up that contact record real quick and I'll tell you what box it is to uncheck. What that does when you turn off the community access of the portal is it gives them the ability to book conference rooms. It gives them the ability to see any invoices that they have. It gives them the ability to make one-time payments or set up recurring payment through the portal. They don't have the ability to see the community directory or be part of the community social media aspect of the portal. And you would turn that off by going into the contact record and going to portal info and unchecking community profile active. Community profile active. If you uncheck that box, they do not see the member directory and they do not see the community social feed.
Hey, Rocky.
And we're creating, yes.
So this is kind of a business level question. Once that workflow's in place, and no offense against the virtual terminal, but why would we do anything other than use Operate? Because if we use the virtual terminal, we've got to go put an invoice in anyway to capture the revenue that the franchise wants to know is there, right?
Yep.
Yeah, the virtual terminal is really so you have that secondary option if you have any type of a transaction that you need to make that is not going to be a nice seamless process through the member portal. This just gives you another option to get that payment collected.
Okay, thank you.
So it's really a safety net for you. So if there's any kind of complication with getting a member on the member portal and getting their payment details in, when you've got them at the reception desk, or if you need to email them the link to collect the payment, this gives you the ability to do it. So just so you have an option is why we wanted you to have this.
But step one should really be what you just explained, which is to control their portal info by taking them as a non-member and making sure that they don't have community profile active, and then it's kind of a moot point.
Yep, then it's a moot point because you want them in that online, portal capability so they can self-serve and book more conference rooms on an ongoing basis. So you really want to work them towards that when they're, non-members. Just remember you need to select the non-member client type for that contact.
And it's not like these virtual terminals have a sell-by date on them. So, if you end up leaving yours idle for a while, whether that's weeks or months, and then you need it, just dust it off. It'll still be there.
I have a quick question.
This is just provided as a courtesy from us at the request of VentureX. It's not a standard issuance. So if it's of use to your business, great. And if it's not, just shelve it.
Quick question for you. When a non-member comes into the space, what we've found is that you usually go over the time that they have asked for. So is there any way on the virtual terminal to collect their payment and then wait till they're finished with their meeting to charge them? Because, if the conference is available, we'd rather make that extra $100 or so if they're staying for an hour or two later. Is there a way to do that, or do we have to charge them immediately? And how should we go about that, would you suggest, even Rocky?
Yeah, I do understand the question, sort of like a rental car agency or a hotel agency where you take a hold and then a final settlement amount. So a pre-auth and then a purchase. It's a one-step checkout. It's not a two-step where you do a pre-auth and then close a purchase amount. So you'd have to get a second payment if you already took one, or just catch them on their way out, or any other ideas that you have on how to do that. Again, this wasn't intended as a permanent workflow. This is, as Rocky said, a safety net that was requested. So.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
So it's just a general use payment taking product, not intended for specific use cases like you're describing.
Everyone, I need to excuse myself. I need to move over to a call that started at 10:30 for our new website development. So it's a real exciting call. So I'm going to exit off here. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate all the hard work everyone's been doing with this transition. We're heading into a great place with PlacePay and Operate and our new website integration. So I'm going to leave you all to Jack. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thanks, Rocky.
Thanks, Rocky. Anyone else have questions? Otherwise, I'll end the meeting. And thank you again for your time. Going once, going twice. Everyone's on mute. So if you're trying to talk, I need to unmute yourself. Okay. Feel free to email or call if you have any questions. Otherwise, thank you again for your time this morning. Good luck with your first bill run. And we're here if you need anything. We're in the office. Call, email. We've got a help desk as well. Just let us know what we can do. Thank you.